you talk about the painting that you don't have here that you're working on now?
Yes, that one is, what is that one? Oh, taking the form of Kuan Yin, find shelter for the homeless person. So that one, what's interesting is that when I finish a piece, I finish this one, and then there's kind of a pause, kind of a place where, like a liminal space, where there's nothing happen, like a resting space, an in-between place where I'm not working on something for a while, almost like to clean my psyche. I don't know what's happening, but it seemed to happen with every piece. And then I was ready for one, and John sent me the miscellaneous koans from PZI. So I printed them out, just left them on my desk, and then one day I came into work, I think on a Saturday, and I start casually reading through them. I'm reading, oh, you know, save the person jumping from the tower. Oh, I don't care about that one. And I was reading another one, was kind of interesting, and then I read, taking the form of Kuan Yin, find shelter for the homeless person, and I started weeping in my classroom. Thank God I didn't have any students in there at the time. And so I knew that this was my next piece, that it held me so deeply and strongly. And that theme of home, finding home. And so the first thing that happened with that one is I came upon a painting by Odilon Redon, and it was Aphrodite rising from the sea. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's it, that's the size. So I looked carefully, and it was in centimeters, which I don't know what they are, but I wrote them down. I just knew it was the right size. So I figured out what size it actually was in inches, and I tried to order it on the internet, you know, and they didn't make one that size, so I had to special order it. And it was huge, it's the size of a door. I'm thinking, what is happening? They keep getting bigger. I don't like the way this is going. I paint so slowly, it'll take me a couple of years to finish this one. And so, you know, at my front door arrives this giant package, you know, of this, and I just store it away, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't even want to begin to work on it because it just seems so huge. And then some of you may have read the little piece I wrote, I posted on PZI about the walk I took on the beach. And came upon some of my students, and they had a bucket, a little red plastic bucket, and inside they said, oh, we have a shark's egg, and there's a real shark inside. You know, I thought, oh, sure. I've never seen a real baby shark in one of those. There's always sand in them. So I went over and looked, and sure enough, there was a live swell shark inside the casing, and it had filled it up so that it could hardly move in there, you know, and all my little students were so excited and running around, and so they decide they're going to open it up. And one of the dads borrows my keys, and he opens up the shark's casing, and it slides out into the bucket, and this little swell shark is swimming around. The kids are ecstatic, and they decide they're going to let it go in a tide pool. So they pour it out, and it's very docile, so it's letting the kids, you know, put their hand and hold it and swim around with them. And so that image became, I knew it was going to be part of the koan piece because of the experiences I had of feeling this loneliness, this connectedness to my students, and then later on the walk, this loneliness that I had walked into. And the koan came to me on the beach at that point. And so I knew this shark's casing somehow would be there. I didn't know, it didn't make any sense, you know. And then other things would start arriving, like I'd see a shape, the shape of an architectural form. You know, the Ottoman doorways, this kind of shape. I would see that shape, and I knew that that would be an architectural structure in the piece. So I have a shark's egg and an architectural structure, and I have a panel beside the door. You know, what do you do with that? I still am not sure. And I knew that there would be, a figure too. That also came to me, and that they would be standing with their arms out, you know, like the Virgin Mary. You often see images of her like that. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I can almost, it's kind of misty. I can't quite see it, but I can see there's a figure. And I'm seeing, you know, a beautiful face of some Asian woman, I don't know, Kuan Yin. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in my yoga class. And we were in a posture called a twisting high lunge, where you're in a lunge. We did kind of a lunge with in yoga here the other day. But this one, you're twisting around. And someone was in front of me, slightly to my right, a man named Mandel, who I actually don't know very well. He's a black man, and he turned slightly, and I saw his face in 3/4, and I looked up, and there was Kuan Yin. There he was, in Mandel's face. And my first response was, no. I want an Asian woman. And so I thought, well, you know, maybe this isn't quite this right. Maybe it was a mistake. But so I just stayed with it for a while. I didn't say anything to Mandel. I just kind of waited to see what would happen. And it continued to feel right. And then one day I thought, well, maybe I'll ask him today if he'd even be willing to let me photograph him. So he came into the yoga studio kind of late. And I see him come in, and he's kneeling on the floor like this. And he's going like this. And that's what he's doing. There's a spider where he was going to put his mat, and he's blowing it away. And it was as if saying, yes, Mandel, yes, Mandel. And that's the koan saying yes in that moment. So after class I asked him, I said, Mandel, you know, did you know I was a painter? No. Did you know I was a teacher? No. He didn't even know my name. I said, do you know anything about Zen or koans? Never heard of them. Do you know who Kuan Yin is? No? Well, would you be willing?
Perfect.
I'm doing this painting, and it has to do with Zen koan, so would you be willing to let me photograph you and be Kuan Yin? And he said, absolutely, sure. No questions asked. He just said yes. So I have some photographs of him now, and of his hands and his feet and his face. And I haven't started sketching, but I've laid down some layers of colors. So that's where that piece is now. It's still in forming itself inside of me.